Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and share. Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So still in subtopic 9.2 human reproductive system. So as you know, in our previous video we have been discussed about male. So for this video, we're going to focus on female. Okay, so sama juga macam yang male hari tu, we're going to discuss about female reproductive system and then the structure of female gamete, which we call as egg. And then we're going to discuss about oogenesis, the process producing female gamete. And then the hormone, the role of hormone in female. And for that, we're going to learn about female reproductive cycle yang ada ovarian cycle and also menstrual cycle. Okay, so before we start, female is more complicated. Okay, female is more complicated. So nak tak nak, kena belajar, kena ambil tahu, and then kita kena rasa nak tahu, eager untuk belajar. So kita akan rasa apa yang saya ajar ni mudah untuk kita faham. Okay, let's start. Alright, for female reproductive system, okay, let's focus. Alright, for female reproductive system, it has 4 main component. Okay, the first one is ovary. So for normal female, okay, kita akan ada sepasang ovary. Okay, kita akan ada sepasang ovary. And then the ovary will connected with the fallopian tube or called as oviduct. And then here is the uterus. And then here is the cervix. And the last part is the vagina. So the ovary is the important organ where the egg is being produced. Other than that, female sex hormone, estrogen, progesterone also will be produced in the ovaries. And then the oviduct or the fallopian tube is the important place where fertilization occur. So fertilization occur dekat fallopian tube. And then this fallopian tube will conduct the egg from the ovary to the uterus. So the uterus is the house for embryo and fetus development. So bila berlakunya di sini fertilization, and then the embryo will implant at the uterus, and dia akan jadi besar daripada embryo menjadi fetus. Semua itu akan berlaku dekat uterus. And then the cervix will secrete a mucus. Okay, so this mucus macam juga the mucus that secreted by bulbous gland of male. Dia adalah untuk lubricates, okay, the penis, and then untuk neutralize, okay, the bacteria and bacteria lah, okay. And then for the uterus, for the vagina, this is the part receive the penis during copulation and serve as birth canal. Okay, remember 4 parts of female reproductive system: ovary, oviduct or fallopian tube, uterus, cervix, and also the vagina. Okay, settled. Alright, so the next part is the female gamete. Okay, female gamete we call as egg. Okay, we call as egg. So egg ni actually secondary oocyte pun kita panggil egg. And then ovum, itu pun adalah egg. Tapi what is the difference between secondary oocyte and the ovum? Okay, secondary oocyte is refer to egg. Kita panggil egg biasa tu, bila kita refer kepada egg biasa tu, itu sebenarnya adalah refer kepada secondary oocyte. Okay, refer kepada secondary oocyte. And then This ovum is referred to mature egg. Okay, nanti bila belajar oogenesis kita akan nampaklah perbezaannya. And then, okay, saya take note kat sini. Before formation of mature egg, dia mesti dalam keadaan secondary oocyte. Okay, so secondary oocyte is a structure before formation of ovum. Okay. So, here is the structure of secondary oocyte yang kamu kena ingat dan kena faham. Alright, yang kamu kena ingat dan kamu kena faham. So, tengok betul-betul. So, here, the outer layer is the follicular cell, or we call as granulosa cell. And then this black area, this is zona pellucida, the jelly coat layer. And then here is the plasma membrane, cytoplasm, and the nucleus. So for this secondary oocyte, the nucleus, their chromosome behavior is at metaphase 2. Means that the chromosome align at metaphase 2. The sister chromatid align at metaphase 2. Okay, and if you refer to your bullet, dia labelkan granulosa cell ni sebagai corona radiata. And actually corona radiata ni, ini adalah follicular cell yang kita jumpa pada sea urchin. Untuk human, we do not have corona radiata. Okay, then let's study actually what inside of female ovaries. Okey, ini adalah kereta rentas dalam ovari. Apa yang kita boleh nampak dalam ovari adalah tentang development of follicle. Okey, in ovari akan ada primordial follicle. So, apa itu primordial follicle? Primordial follicle is a follicle that contain of primary oocyte and surrounded by one layer of follicle cell. So, maksudnya ada satu layer follicle cell dan di dalamnya mengandungi primary oocyte. And then this follicle will develop and kita panggil dia sebagai, semua ini kalau kita nampak, ini represent sebagai primary follicle. Apa tu primary follicle? Primary follicle ni maksudnya it contain of primary oocyte but it has more than one layer of follicular cell. And then dia akan develop menjadi secondary follicle. Secondary follicle pun masih ada primary oocyte. Tetapi it contain of 6 to 12 layer of follicular cell. Maksudnya dia punya follicular cell layer dia adalah lebih tebal. And then this primary oocyte is surrounded by zona pellucida juga. So all these, okay, untuk memudahkan kamu, kita panggil dia sebagai growing follicle. What is growing follicle? Follicle that contain primary oocyte that surrounded by zona pellucida and several layer of follicular cell. Okay, then this follicular cell and finally it will become follicle cell, this follicle and finally dia akan growing up untuk jadi mature follicle. So this mature follicle is known as Graafian follicle. So remember, the growing follicle will finally become mature and this called as Graafian follicle. So in Graafian follicle, there no more of primary oocyte. Yang ada adalah secondary oocyte with the first polar body. Okay, so Graafian follicle, dia dah ada secondary oocyte dan ada first polar body. Okay, so this secondary oocyte, okay, macam mana rupa dia? Kita tunggu pula. This secondary oocyte that surrounded by follicular cell then will be burst. We call the bursting process itu sebagai ovulation. So bila the follicle become mature, dah become Graafian follicle, dia akan mengalami proses dipanggil sebagai ovulation, di mana the follicle cell dia akan burst and release out the secondary oocyte itself. Dia akan keluarkan secondary oocyte sahaja. Dan sedikit beberapa layers, maksudnya layer yang sikit follicular cell bersama. Okay, yang lain tu remaining follicle cell, dia akan membentuk struktur yang dipanggil sebagai corpus luteum. And this corpus luteum will be degenerate. Okay, finally dia akan degenerate. All this process is actually contribute with the hormone. Bila dia nak degenerate, semua tu hanya melibatkan hormon. Okay, saya repeat balik. Okay, this is what happened in female ovary. Okay, for female, we will have the primordial follicle, which contain of primary oocyte and only one layer of follicular cell. And then this follicle cell and this follicle cell we develop and call as growing follicle, which contain of primary oocyte and several layer of follicular cell. And the primary oocyte is surrounded by the zona pellucida. And then the growing follicle become mature and called as Graafian follicle, which carry secondary oocyte together with first polar body. But later on, this first polar body will be degenerate. And then the Graafian follicle may undergo ovulation, where the follicle will be burst and release out the secondary oocyte. And the remaining follicle cell will form a structure called corpus luteum. And then finally, this corpus luteum will be degenerate. And then this primary oocyte, the closed structure is here. It contains of several layers of granulosa cell, which is the follicular cell. And then have the zona pellucida layer, the plasma membrane, cytoplasm, and then the nucleus. And this secondary oocyte, their chromosome behavior is at metaphase 2. Okay, clear about that? So that we can continue with the third one, which is oogenesis process. Okay, so oogenesis process is process producing female gamete, which called as egg. So dalam hal ini, egg saya dah bagi tahu, kita ada dua term. Egg is referred to the primary oocyte. Mature egg is referred to the ovum. Okay, so let's start. Alright, gametogenesis of the female gamete is known as oogenesis, and it takes place in ovary. Okay, and this process same goes to male. It start since fetus stage. Sama macam lelaki, spermatogenesis dia bermula waktu fetus kan. So sama je, oogenesis pun bermula dari fetus stage. So apa yang berlaku? The primordial germ cell may undergo mitosis and at the same time undergo differentiation to form oogonium. So primordial germ cell is a diploid cell. Okay, and then the oogonium also diploid cell. And then the oogonium may undergo mitosis. Okay, and then at the same time undergo differentiation and to form structure called primary oocyte. And as you know, the mitosis process is actually untuk banyakkan lagi sel. Okay, sebab mitosis, the concept is produce two daughter cell which are identical to the parent. So maksudnya proses untuk memperbanyakkan lagi oogonium, proses memperbanyakkan lagi primordial germ cell. So that's why the cell undergo mitosis. And then the most important to know, when the oogonium undergo differentiation, produce primary oocyte, this primary oocyte is actually at prophase 1. Okay, the stage of primary oocyte is at prophase 1. So when the girls is being birth. Bila seseorang baby girl itu dilahirkan, di dalam ovarinya ada primary oocyte. Okay. So macam baby boy tadi, bila lahir dalam testis dia ada primary spermatocyte. So untuk female at birth yang ada adalah primary oocyte. And this primary oocyte is diploid. Okay, kenapa diploid? Sebab prophase 1 the nucleus belum habis lagi divide. Dia baru nak divide. So that's why dia masih dalam keadaan diploid. And then when reach puberty, when the girls reach puberty, this primary oocyte may complete meiosis 1. Means dia akan conduct metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1. Okay, and then at the end of that, at meiosis 1 akan ada 2 daughter cell which called as first polar body, and then structure called secondary oocyte. Okay, after the meiosis 1 is end, this daughter cell, it may undergo meiosis 2 but stop at metaphase 2. So that's why bila kita belajar tadi structure of secondary oocyte, saya kata dia berada, the chromosome behavior is at metaphase 2. Okay. And then when ovulation occur, means the Graafian follicle bursts, release the secondary oocyte. So here is the secondary oocyte. It will travel to the oviduct. And at oviduct, if the sperm are present, so the sperm will fuse with the secondary oocyte. The fuse of the sperm will trigger the secondary oocyte to complete meiosis 2. Means dia akan completekan anaphase 2, telophase 2. So from that it may produce 2 daughter cells. First we call as second polar body, and second one, this is the matured egg yang dipanggil sebagai ovum. Okay? Boleh dapat? So maksudnya kalau kamu kata kamu ada ovum, memang siap lah. Ovum only be produced when triggered by fusing of sperm. Tak ada sperm, hanya sekadar secondary oocyte. So that's why secondary oocyte ni juga kita panggil sebagai egg, which is the female gamete. Okay, so I repeat. So we can see that this oogenesis can be divided into 3 stages. Fetus stage, during puberty, and during entrance of sperm. In fetus stage, okay, we start from the beginning. Okay, oogenesis is a process producing female gamete. It occur in ovary. It start since fetus stage, which primordial germ cell diploid, undergo mitosis, and at the same time undergo differentiation, producing oogonium, which is diploid. Oogonium undergo mitosis and at the same time undergo differentiation and produce primary oocyte. This primary oocyte is arranged at prophase 1. So at birth of a girl, the primary oocyte present in the ovary. During puberty of the female, the primary oocyte will complete meiosis 1 and will be onset of meiosis 2. So the process produce first polar body, which finally will degenerate and will produce secondary oocyte. So this secondary oocyte is at metaphase 2. During ovulation, the Graafian follicle bursts and release secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte travel from ovary to the oviduct. If entrance of sperm, and then the sperm fuse with the secondary oocyte, this will trigger the secondary oocyte to complete meiosis 2 and produce second polar body, which also will be degenerate and produce the mature egg called ovum. Okay, so that is oogenesis. Right, so the fourth element to be learned is the female reproductive cycle. Okay, for female reproductive cycle, macam saya cakap tadi, involve role of hormone. Okay, involve role of hormone. But it not straight away macam hormone in male. It is more complicated. Okay, sebab itulah perempuan ni complicated sikit. Sebab hormon dia sendiri pun dah complicated. Alright, so for female reproductive cycle, it has 2 cycle. Okay, which occur serentak tetapi berbeza tempat dan mereka adalah saling berkait. Bila kita kata first ovarian cycle, obviously the cycle occur in ovary and the cycle is referred to development of follicle in ovary. Okay, so ovarian cycle means the cycle kitaran itu berlaku di ovary dan melibatkan kita refer kepada development of follicle. Ingat tadi saya dah tunjuk what we have in our ovary, start from primordial follicle sampailah dah jadi growing follicle and then become Graafian follicle and then berlaku ovulation and then formation of corpus luteum degenerate, all that occur in ovary. So actually all that is referred to ovarian cycle. And this ovarian cycle has 2 phases. The follicular phase, okay, the phase where the follicle grows from the primary follicle until Graafian follicle. And then the second phase is the luteal phase. Luteal phase is referred to the phase when the ovulation has been done. So the corpus luteum is formed. Itu kita panggil sebagai luteal phase. So in between of follicular phase and luteal phase is called as ovulation process. So remember, ovarian cycle kita ada dua fasa. Follicular phase refer to the phase follicle growth, and then the luteal phase, this is the phase after ovulation, means the phase when the corpus luteum is formed. Okay, then between of these 2 phases, the process called ovulation. And then the second phase is called menstrual cycle. Okay, the second cycle actually is menstrual cycle or called as uterine cycle. And this cycle occur in uterus. Ingat tak tadi uterus? Okay, uterus tadi yang kita kata house of developing of embryo and fetus. And then di uterus itu apa yang akan kita tengok dalam cycle ini is about the lining of the change in the lining of endometrium wall. Okay, bila endometrium wall tebal, bila endometrium wall ruptured, bila endometrium wall start to thicken back. So, apa yang berlaku dekat uterus, itu kita kata sebagai menstrual cycle or uterine cycle. And average for female, the uterine cycle is take around 28 days. Okay, so that's why nanti kita akan tengok lah, okay, dengan lebih terperinci. And then this menstrual cycle has 3 phases. We have menstrual flow. This is the phase when we have bleeding. Okay, bila kita period tu, itu kita panggil sebagai menstrual flow. And then fasa called as proliferative phase. After the endometrial wall ruptured, bila dia ruptured tu, that's why kita bleeding. After that, endometrial wall must be back, dia mesti repair balik. Dia mesti menebal balik. So during that phase, itu yang kita panggil sebagai proliferative phase, regeneration of endometrium wall. And the third phase is secretory phase. So this phase is the phase maintaining the thickness of endometrium wall, and the phase where our body ready, where the endometrium wall is ready for implantation. Sekiranya ada fertilization, and then dah jadi zygote, dan dah jadi embryo, waktu itu endometrium wall kita dalam keadaan yang tebal dan dia ready untuk melakukan implantation. We're going to continue to explain about ovarian cycle and menstrual cycle in the next video. So thank you for watching. Bye.